All right, everyone, welcome back to KAYLA Unfiltered, the housing call-in show. You already know how we do things here. No scripts, no filters, no sugarcoating, just real people, real stories, real talk about what's actually happening in housing across Ontario. And today, we got a big one, because I'm being joined by someone who is right in the middle of a storm in Hamilton. Daniel Chin is the president of the Hamilton District Apartment Association. Thank you, Daniel, for coming on. This man is not just talking about housing, he's out there building it, managing it, improving it, and fighting for it. Founder of Chin Properties, multi-million dollar portfolio, board member of the National Housing Organization. He comes with titles, people. He's representing housing providers across Ontario and the country while dealing with the chaos of what's happening right in his own city. And today we're diving straight into Hamilton's landlord licensing mess. What it means, what it is broken down, and what every landlord in Ontario better be paying attention for, because once one city gets away with this kind of policies, the others follow. If you're a landlord, a tenant, investor, or just someone watching the housing market go off the rails, trust me, this is something you don't want to miss. Let's get into it. Daniel, thank you so much for coming on and sharing everything that you know and what you've been doing for the Ontario landlords.
My pleasure to be on your show, Kayla.
Now, people are probably wondering, if they're not in Hamilton, they want to know, what is landlord licensing? I know it's going to be different in each city, but what is happening in Hamilton?
Well, it's a lot of dysfunctionality, rental licensing. I did a lot of reading on it prior to the delegation speech, right, which I did, I believe it was last week at City Council. This has been a topic for the past 20 years, right? So it started around 2007 when provincial government gave municipalities or municipal government, the municipal powers to explore such revenue tools and of course licensing, right, of businesses or residents was one of them, and in subsequent years. City of Hamilton explored it, and interestingly, when we did the delegation on December 2nd, one of the delegates showed a very powerful slide, Caleb, where in 2010 to 2012, we had a proactive bylaw enforcement program. And that same program on the on the right on the right side of that slide was the same enforcement program from 2022 to 2025, but now we have a licensing fee. So this entire city, it really functions on dysfunction. We have lack of transparency, where it's been since November 2023. The city hasn't done a full audit as yet. But of course, recently, end of last year, City Housing Hamilton actually did their full audit, and we had a cyber incident in February 2024 where 500 something files of licensing applications was lost.
Oh,
Yes, and
important.
yep. So this entire licensing program costing roughly 2 million in the past 4 years, and when you do the math, 410 licenses being issued, that's roughly about 500,000 in revenue. So that's a net loss of 1.5. 1.5 million. So it's a lot of money being spent and
Yeah.
very little results, and these kind of cost that the city is spending is not sustainable.
No, let's back into, like, what is the cost to the landlord for getting the initial license, or their first time getting the license? What's the cost, and what does the landlord actually have to do?
Yep, so roughly 447 per unit, and it's that the breakdown is application, and inspection as well, And if you have to go through the whole, and then additional is compliance costs, right? So if it is illegal and you have to, to make it legalized, go through that entire process, or zoning if it is illegal zoning, etc. That's additional cost as well. Now the entire program is supposedly to be full cost recovery, meaning the cost will be paid from such fees, but roughly 2,000 units annual, and they were only able to issue 410 licenses. The math doesn't add up. It is
So
already
the fee per unit is over almost $500 for each unit?
447 is 2025, but they want to increase that to 815 for
Oh,
2026. Correct. Oh yes, and also for and then there's an annual renewal fee as well. So that's jumping to 607 plus HST, and I believe it was for how much was this? I got the numbers here. It was 415 for annual renewal.
wow. So not
Yeah.
only, and they're only running this right now in Hamilton for wards 1, 8, and part of 14. And that's what they've voted on the second for committee, is that it's going to, they're doing it permanently for that in particular area. So it's not fully citywide quite yet.
Unfortunately, that it was voted to be permanent. And yes, I believe if you read between the lines, 2 years from now, when they have a further review on extending this for another 2 years, well, like you said, making it permanent, I believe the intent is to make it citywide, but they wouldn't really have the infrastructure, meaning the amount of inspectors. To tell you how ridiculous this is, KAYLA, we had another delegate on December 2nd that mentioned, um, when it comes to the fire inspection, in 1 year he has to do two fire inspection in a span of 2 months, and the fire inspector simply comes to the building and checks the box, and and that's it, and of course collects whatever their money,
The
and
fire,
they
like
get
the city fire inspector.
fire inspector, and they get
Okay.
paid overtime, and it is just a waste of resources. The city, this is the consistent pattern, KAYLA, that you see in time and time over with this entire city of Hamilton. All these bylaws, vacant unit tax, renovation bylaw, where it costs $1 million for renovation bylaw, and in 2025, only 3 applications and one was approved for the renovation or renovation and relocation license. Right,
Oh, Daniel,
only one was
you
well.
know that there wasn't gonna be a bunch of them. It was
Well,
good
the
smoke and mirrors for those counselors getting the kudos from the tenant unions, thinking that they're cracking down on these bad landlords doing these renovictions.
Well, the thing is, KAYLA, they don't tell this to the public. I only know because the news
Tell
reporter, Tavia from the Hamilton Spectator, emailed me to ask for HD Hamilton and District Apartment Association our thoughts on or comments on the renovation bylaw before he publishes this article, and he only gives only a short span of few hours to actually comment. And I try my best to be responsive, and when he said only one was approved, that was shocking, because
Mm.
you spend $1 million and you only have one approved renovation license. It's that pretty much says it. And
Now, was that for like renovations where the tenant gets to come back, or are we talking like a renovation where the building's getting demolished and the tenant doesn't have anything to come back to?
it will be the first that you mentioned, substantial renovation, and then yes, they have the first rights of refusal to return to the same unit
Yeah.
and pay the same original price. So
Now, my
it's a
question would be, if we have a renovation bylaw that comes into your city, yes, it's smoke and mirrors to make those city councils look good, But what happens at the provincial level? Doesn't provincial trump municipal? So can we just carry with the status quo and getting a contractor to give you written consent to say that, yes, the tenant does need to vacate in order to do the extensive renovations and provide that for our N13 application? Like, do we really need to apply for a city one?
Correct, Kayla. So it is redundant. You know, it's already stipulated in the provincial, like you said, legislation. You know, in the Residential Tenancy Act, all of these things. And when we see duplicates in municipal, rules or these bylaws, it's a waste of taxpayers' money. I hear time and time over again. All these, we sometimes receive emails from people that are even non-HDA members, and voicing their concerns and the frustration with how our taxpayer tax dollars are being spent.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And that I can go down a list of examples from the Barton Tiffany, where they overspent 5 million for 40
What's that
cabins.
one?
40 cabins they ordered from China,
Okay.
and it was supposed to be roughly roughly about 2 million is the project cost, and it ended up costing 7 or 8 million, and they spent 1 million in just electrical work to get it operational and compliant.
Mhm.
And one of the councillor Mike Spadafora said this is insanity. And and recently there was an article with a company, I believe in Stony Creek, that is doing the same similar type of project for in London, for London, Ontario, because they also have their homelessness problems in this respective city as well. So it's a lot of these that are happening in the city, Kayla, and it really has you thinking, how does these councillors make such decisions? And what I've been seeing recently is common sense is very uncommon these days.
Yeah. Definitely. No, I think we need to call upon like which projects that they're voting for that is costing taxpayers more. But if they just let the private industry, and I just seen Daniel Fauci, he's like, he just on the federal government trying to create their 26,000 units. And he's like, one, I don't think the government needs to build the type of units that they're building. And again, why are you not letting the private sector? Why are they competing with the private sector? And that's what they're doing. They're competing with the private sector by choking us out, not at provincial anymore. Provincial woke up, but now we see them choking us out municipally, and knowing how heavy Hamilton has with their issues with housing, and to be very strong armed and say no, we're going to keep this licensing. And where does the money go, Daniel, when the money does come in? Is it just going, obviously, because it's not covering the cost right now for the landlord licensing? But did they say there was going to be a surplus? Did they think it was going to be a surplus in this? Like,
No, they hope for it to break even, but it didn't. As we have seen, 4 years this pilot program has been running, from 2022 when they started receiving applications
yeah.
to suppose about it to end of December was supposed to end the pilot program, and then they voted last week, and then this week, I believe on December 10th, they have to ratify that the decision at city council, which
Yeah.
likely will be, um, that's my educated guess based on this current city council structure, as to put it very
Political.
yeah, very nicely. But what I would say, there are, just like in any politics, there are those on the left and those on the right.
Okay, which one do we like? Which one have the common sense that's not common anymore, Daniel? Because we need to be able, because when I was watching, I know we had Esther Paul and we had Rob Cooper. I know that the way you guys work it in the city of Hamilton is like you have like a committee that's overseeing this, and whatever the committee says, then it goes to council. So you may not have all your counselors that were there at this vote that resulted into a 9-2. That
Mhm.
said, which counselors are we really like should we be supporting in the 2026? I think you, as the president of the Hamilton Landlords Association, I think we would really much appreciate no, because I know we're too busy. We're too busy trying to keep an eye on everybody.
Well, I can get in trouble if I if I say who are the good ones and who are not the good ones for
Well,
your
the bad ones
viewers.
are not voting
Uh,
for you anyways.
but as you mentioned, Consular Esther Pauls, she is wonderful, and I think she has the most. Well, one of the consuls that has the most common sense, as she has a business uh, background previously, and I've met her a few times in person, and so as a few of the other good counselors as well. But one of the things, what I would say, Kayla, that we will try to put out sort of a recap for 2025, all the decisions that I've made, right? For all these respective bylaws and all the 15 councillors who voted in
Yes.
favor and who voted against.
I will share it. I will
So
share it. Our landlords
yeah.
will share it. That is important, like, because it's about like we have to run this as a campaign as well. Just like we're not full on lobbyists, but I think Hamilton should know which councillors voted to
Mhm,
increase their taxes, not
mhm,
only for the fact that they have to keep providing housing and putting taxes because you're costing taxpayers 1.5, $1.7 million in a program that's as a duplication. And I think this is where the province needs to step in and tell our municipalities to stay in their own lane so we don't see our taxes increase, where it becomes more difficult not only for profit housing providers but for nonprofit housing providers. But you got to have that list to see who's who, because the rents are rising, and they're rising based on bad housing policies.
yep. Well, what I can say is the ones
When's
on the left are
when's the
very
tool
no
coming,
no
gang?
no.
Gang, is it?
I
I
will
will
have our administrator Anna Kashmira, to share it for those that are very, for your viewers that are very interested. And however, it's what I can say. The ones on the left are very ideological,
Mhm.
and I think you wrote in actually your letter to council with regards to the rental licensing on how this political game works with certain politicians who not necessarily makes the common sense decision
Mm.
as they should, but they make the decision that is going to win the most votes. And then the way how they portray the business people or the investors or the landlords, or vilify them, and as you have worded it, being political scapegoats, as though we are the bad ones, and etc etc. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I think um, eventually the truths and the transparency of the truthful information, it will prevail. And for viewers that are viewing Ontario Landlords Watch, and other platforms that simply is showing the truth and being very transparent of what really happens in certain cities, as I believe you're in. Is it Cambridge or
Cambridge.
well,
Yeah,
Cambridge?
Cambridge,
Yes,
PwC.
yes. And but Hamilton is very, very interesting. For the past 8 years, Kayla, I think if we continue going down the direction we're going, we wouldn't have a city anymore. It's no longer safe. It's the decisions that are being made by this current city council, and particularly to the ones that are on the left. It is not good. And you see a lot of the small landlords exiting the markets. One of our committee members have said this entire 2025 year has been poo poo, and for small landlords, and
Unfiltered here, Daniel. We're unfiltered.
yes, and and they've been exiting the markets, and it is not it is really not good, because for some of the small landlords, it's their entire savings, life savings,
Yeah.
and they don't have that deep pockets like the big landlords, to to weather such additional costs.
Well, you know what? Like it comes down to analyzing when you see cities and advertising that they've created affordable housing units, and you do the math, and these units are coming in $500,000. Like that's and they're units, they're not housing, they're $500,000 properties that are going to be paid for by grants, different programs from government, aka taxpayers. But those properties do need to be maintained. They got to be built, they got to be managed, they got to be maintained. So why are they going after small individual landlords who don't have, this pension? They don't have a pension from the government. They're just trying to rent out their homes. They're trying to provide homes that not every big landlord can actually provide. Like small landlords do provide some, amenities that, the big ones don't get, such as like townhouses and condos, or fiveplexes, individual units. Now, when you look at how our elected officials are coming after the small landlords, for the ones that are being outspoken and the ones that do see common sense and putting everything on the line, because obviously a tenant union can make them look like they're the horrible people, for making these tenants live in unsafe conditions. But when we have the property standards, you have the fire code, you have the residential and tenancy act, you have the landlord and tenant board, like these are all enforcement tools that the city could be utilizing. Like what do they get out of landlord licensing? And before you answer, I like to give some recognition to what just came out in the news of Patrick Brown. Not that one, it's this one,
Yes,
Patrick
yes.
Brown. He uses his strong mayor powers to permanently cancel Brampton landlord licensing fee. Now, before we get like excited here, the thing is still in play, but he canceled the fee. So again, I think it goes into, if this was really about safety, why are there such a huge fee? And did Patrick Brown crack that open? Like, is he like, what are you going to say?
Well, the good thing, Kayla, in my position, I receive a lot of emails, and I received an email a few days ago with that article, and I saw it. And I think for Patrick Brown, because I believe it is municipal election next year, so he has to watch out, because in their city in Brampton, they too have landlord advocacy organizations that are strongly opposing that rental licensing pilot that they have there. And I believe it's roughly about 13 million being spent. You don't quote me, on that being correct.
He's been getting some
Um,
housing built for this
and
price.
yes, and but they have, remembered when they first rolled it out, there was a lot of backlash from, again, the landlord community, and
Mhm.
then they paused it, refined that program, and then they to after taking in all those considerations, and then they rolled it out. These rental licensing programs, it's really to, again, right, address the bad apples, to ensure healthy, safe, legal units. And the thing is, specifically in Hamilton, what you'll find is there's only a small proportion of these bad actors, and it doesn't make sense to penalize the good landlords, the majority, which is much more good landlords. So if you want to target the problem properties, you need more, you need targeted enforcements, for these properties, and that is the real solution, not a blanket licensing for everyone. It is not it's not cost effective. Well, it's supposedly supposed to be full cost recovery,
It
but
ain't. It's
again,
never gonna.
yep, it's not
Our
just.
landlords are not applying for a license.
E- Correct. So it is, I really, this is how politics is, Kayla. It really surprises me. This was a few weeks ago when I received an email with that was forwarded to me, and it was a response from one of the counselor in Hamilton. I probably wouldn't say who the counselor is, but the counselor basically said that small no one should own more than one property. So basically, do not
Oh,
believe in why we should invest, or why people should invest or own more than one property. And it was that was a very alien language to me, because I think for everyone, I mean, if you watch whatever Scott McGillivray income property, whatever, people have to believe in the Canadian dream. They
yeah,
didn't the people who came from other countries, they came to Canada for a better life. And some of these, even some of your viewers, small landlords, they they turned whatever their second, or second residence into a property, into a rental property,
yeah,
to as a way of either building wealth over time, as for their retirements. And some took it a step further to do much more than that, and actually turned it into an actual business. But when we have so much regulations, that makes it more challenging for any landlord, big, medium, small. It defeats the sort of, or disincentivize landlords to actually want to invest. And that's a sentiment we are facing right now in this country. People uh not putting their investing their capital in this country. It has, I believe I read an article, the the productivity have been very stagnant for the past 10 years. And when it comes to investments, we have so much taxes in Canada. They're not pouring their money in Canada. They're going elsewhere to other places where, where there's no taxes. I mean, I saw a
it's a
YouTube video
it's a
recently.
socialist.
Yep, there you go. Just like Mam Danny, or whatever his name is, in New York City. It's
Yeah,
basically a socialist. And then you have beautiful places like Dubai, where there's no capital gain taxes, no inheritance tax, no income tax. Hence, everyone will flee to Dubai to
yeah,
live,
yeah.
right? So
And
it.
and that's like the counselor who I want her name or him. I don't care. It just I want their name. But that is that messaging that these tenants out there, even online, and probably this video is like, you shouldn't own more than one property. Like, and but they fail to recognize that not everyone can be a homeowner. Not everyone has the income. Not everyone has the down deposit. Not everyone has the credit. So the landlords, the private landlords, they fill that gap where government has failed. And I can tell you, it's 10 to 22 years for government housing units and 30 years I seen in an article for supportive housing. So when you get to see the increase in small landlords trying to come in, we're not going to be the one size fits all. And I think that's what people like have to understand, that the private sector won't do it. But at the same time, having government being the housing provider at the same time, this is where the socialist government comes into play. And I can tell you from speaking with tenants in government housing units, they are struggling to deal with their maintenance. And anytime if you have landlord licensing, are they going to be landlord licensing their own units in Hamilton? And what will be their grade, I wonder? Because I could tell you that I've been told that there's units that have to go back to the studs, because people are punching holes inside of their walls to hide needles, right? So we have a very big problem at hand. I don't think we're ever going to solve it per se. I think we have but I think with them making that decision and knocking down the international students, we're seeing rents decrease. right? We're seeing the rents having to decrease again. It makes a little nervous, but who wants to buy into a market when the prices of rental units are going down? But if you continue to do these type of programs like landlord licensing, we're only going to see it increase. And I don't think a lot of landlords know that they can apply to the landlord and tenant board to raise their rent above the guidelines. And it sucks because it takes a long time and there is a fee and there's a lot of paperwork, but you still have to start utilizing this when the 2.1% is not going to cover you for 2026.
Correct. And above guideline increases, we need 3% above that increased guideline. You said 2.1 for 2026.
Unfortunately.
Yes, so then it will be 5.1 is the max that you can do for above guideline increase, which is AGI is not really much liked by the
Oh, yeah.
the acorns, the tenant.
And
And-
you know what? Like this, you were just at an event that was coming up, and I'm going to show that before the
Mhm.
show is done because this is I was shocked. I you thought you were shocked when Bill 60 passed, guys. Wait until this video that I'm going to show here with when we're talking with Daniel. I started showing him a little bit, and his face lit up. I'm like, okay, we're gonna wait. We need this raw. We need this raw. So Daniel, like when we're working with different ways of like keeping the places for absentee landlords not getting the maintenance done on their property, they obviously just need probably better housekeeping, knowing who owns the property, who to contact. I think it's just about making sure that they have contact to the in particular homeowner if there is something that's outstanding for maintenance issues, but knowing that they can utilize the landlord and tenant board and giving tenants access to that for them to follow if they have maintenance. Like I listened to the delegation, and the girl that was from the university, she said that based on the inspection, she found out that she didn't have a smoke detector. And I'm like, you're in university and you didn't think to look if you have smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors? Like, when do we start holding tenants accountable for their own safety as well? Just putting that out there.
Interestingly, Kayla, um, one of the counselor more towards the end, I believe it was Counselor Rob Cooper, asked those same two students, from McMaster questions. And essentially what they were saying is, we agree, yes, that their schools, McMaster, they do get educated if they have any issues in their rental units, that who they can call, right, etc. And to report. But then their response was, they don't do it because they are already already too busy with their lives, studying for exams and etc., and they don't have the time to call the number, to report their landlords, or make a complaint, etc. So, and then also they said, I believe 500 something students support this licensing, but out of the 3,500 something students that they surveyed, so you're seeing the remaining 2,000, or 3,000 students have no issues. They have good landlords. So it was very interesting. It was very interesting. And of course, this licensing is not just limited to the students, right? It's for all others that are receiving public assistance or disability, newcomers, single parent families, etc. But of course, it is in student heavy neighborhoods. So those, as you mentioned, in Ward 1, 8, and part of Ward 14, now the licensing will be permanent. We are still trying to stop it. We have 2 days. We are still trying to stop it or change the mindset of certain counselors that on the left. But from the looks of it, Kayla, I do not have faith that that these counselors will change their mindset. As mentioned to you before, one of the counselor says that no one should own more than one property. That's very very unusual language to my ears.
They're supposed to be representing all residents of the city in the best interests of the city, and knowing that they're increasing the rents, they're increasing the property taxes in just a disguise to make it look like they're doing something for them. Because deep down, you still have the property standards, you still have fire code, but again, why are you going to take away money from the landlord that he could be putting that
So,
into the property?
I'll say this, Kayla. I might get in trouble, but I'll say this.
Watch
My
your
my
language.
gut feeling is we the municipal, well, the mayor and the municipal government is spending a lot of money addressing the homelessness with,
Mhm.
using, of course, the 2 billion something dollars they collect from taxpayers every year. And they and the last, for 2025 budget which was passed, they only was able to trim that 0.1%, so I believe from 5.79 to 5.7 percent, so not much. It was, they tried their best, but that's all that they can do. So and a few months ago they were trying to find ways on how they can have more revenue tools in the city. And
Mm,
my gut feeling is this whole licensing thing. Now, keep in mind, this self recovery, full cost recovery, sorry,
mm.
but the compliance costs, all of these costs to go through legalizing, rezoning, etc., is expensive. Can be north of $30,000. That's revenues for the city. Indirectly, revenues are for the city as well. So what I've seen recently, for whatever reason, municipal law enforcement with parking and any sort of violation for yard maintenance and alleyways, I've seen
I think I
the
see something with noise as well.
noise. They have been issuing these penalty notices or tickets out left, right, and center. And recently, for for yard, I guess, maintenance cleanup, because in the alleyways there's homeless people living in some alleyways, and unfortunately over the years, I have had to deal with that situation. And 2 or 3 weeks ago, when I went to City Hall and I was speaking to one of the employees, Kayla, this is, I'm fully being transparent
Mm,
and not to name any names, but the employee at City Hall, he said, this city functions on this function. And he said a few months ago, there was an article where the city lacks transparency, right?
yeah,
And then he also said, and I quote him, he said, this is fuckery, right? This, yes, yes,
that's
because all
awesome.
the people who come to City Hall to make whatever payments of their tickets by the municipal bylaw officers,
Mm,
they are just told to go to City Hall, make the payment. They can appeal it there, but people working there, they don't know how to advise them,
yeah.
and they have that dysfunction. And it is exactly what that person said. The city functions on dysfunction. Hopefully that person doesn't get fired for me
No,
saying
they
this.
don't know who he is. We
Yeah,
or she, or yeah, we don't
yeah,
know who it is. But you know what?
yeah.
It's not the only time. I've had conversations with staff as well. And sometimes, and then that's a question that I was going to ask, like, where does staff, I know sometimes staff is very opinionated. Did staff say that they think landlord licensing was a good thing to roll out or a bad thing? Because I know when it came down to the rent eviction bylaw in Kitchener and Guelph, the
Mhm.
staff it indicated to council that they shouldn't do it, but they didn't care. It was obviously something that made them look good. Did staff say anything to you about landlord licensing
N- Not
per se?
directly, but they're seeing it on the front line. It was actually end of November, and there were a lot of people who attended it that had to deal with vehicle unit tax, because unfortunately they didn't declare, and that is the nightmare that happened with the vacant unit tax, and they extended it 2 times, right? So the
Mm.
second extension was the end of November. And you see these people in very unfortunate situations where they have the vacant unit tax bill on top of their bill, and they're behind, and these are just regular working people who have families to support. And
Because they
this
wanted to leave a unit empty, but they didn't declare it, or are they living in it but didn't declare it, so now they're still taxing them to as if it was empty?
uh, because they didn't declare. So 96% responded, but then
Wow.
you have the 4%, and they and so far that program 5 million spent, but under 400 properties actually declared vacant,
Danielle,
right?
You're
So
right. You're right on the nose when it comes down to knowing what they need for
yeah.
revenue, coming up with a landlord licensing, more money to get a landlord licensing, keeping it permanent in so many different areas. But then the vacancy tax, same situation, is another cash grab to try to take advantage of people who don't even know what in the world is going on, and then they get this huge bill and more than likely a lien put on their
Yeah.
property taxes. And again, if any landlord out there who wants to keep their place empty, like, why is the government telling you that you should be renting it in the type of environment that they're currently in? So if anyone needs a lease signed, let me know. I'll sign it for you so that it doesn't show to be
Yep.
vacant. No
It-
problem.
It's the same with the Toronto fiasco happened beginning. This was beginning this year, I believe,
Mhm.
or at some point last year, and the mayor Olivia Chow had to deal with that entire thing. Seniors were in distress. Hamilton City Council, it was raised, that these things could potentially happen. It will be a train wreck. I did do a delegation on the vacant unit tax as well. But as I mentioned, common sense is very uncommon these days.
It's the
Yeah.
NDP socialist mindset, and this is what you get between Olivia Chow being NDP, Andrea, who is the leader of the NDP. Like, how are we not putting the correlation together that the province is looking bad, but the province could be looking bad because of the mismanagement that we have at a municipal and or regional level, wouldn't you say?
Mhm. Correct. And I can get in trouble for saying this as well, but
You're
there
not
was
getting
an
in trouble.
article. There was a,
We're voting back in as the
there,
president
there,
of the Hamilton District Department Association.
oh, I would love to, to be a politician, Kayla, but it is, I very much enjoy the private sector. It really is a tough job. But there was an article recently. Our mayor of Hamilton, Andrew Howard, has negative approval ratings. Right, it is,
Not a
not good.
no shock.
And most people that I have spoken, they didn't say good things about our current mayor, and the current conditions of our city, and where it is going. So what's few months ago, one of our committee members said, and I remembered it like yesterday: government needs to get out of the way, let private sector do their jobs. Government needs to get out of the way.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
couldn't agree with you more. And then you know what? You need to don't be in trouble. Like, you're in the private sector, you're not a politician. So you can say what you want to say when you need to say it, because deep down, I think that's what we're not doing. We're not holding our elected officials accountable the way we should. We're not blasting their names out there. And I would assume that your members would appreciate you knowing what you do, how you're delegating, getting to speak with these elected officials, their emails coming to you, which ones we really see with a business mindset, because it's not about just help the greedy landlords. It's about help the landlords, help the tenants in order to help the taxpayer. That's deep down what's happening here. If you keep putting the cost onto the landlord, if you keep putting cost onto the property manager puts it to the landlord brings it to the tenant. It's a domino effect, and they understand this. But do they get more money coming from the province to deal with the homelessness? They're all coming together now and stating that they want to deem homelessness and the mental health and addiction as a crisis, and deem it as an emergency, a state of emergency. Now, do they get more powers? Do they get more money? They've had money. they've had lots of money over the years. My region got $65.5 million to address homelessness. And we have programs upon programs out the yin yang. Not only that, but we also have programs that are nonprofits who are getting grant money from taxpayers
Mhm.
to deal with providing services to people with mental health, addiction, and homelessness. But we still see the problem getting worse. So again, it goes into, let's go down the rabbit hole. Where, how much money is the province giving the regions and the city? Where are they putting their money? Because from what I can see, it's going to people's salaries. It's going to people's marketing. And like, if you have a nonprofit organization and they're writing off $20,000 as marketing material, I'm sorry, if your service is needed, you wouldn't be needing $20,000 in marketing material. We're seeing people giving out awards and buttons and clips. Like, that's where they're spending money. Like, we have people sleeping on the streets. Sorry to go on a tangent. I just see the mismanagement, not just in the RTA, the LTB.
Mhm.
I've gone down the rabbit
Mhm.
hole of how we run government housing, social housing, nonprofit housing, and all these programs
Mhm.
that are out
Right.
there that people are supposed to
Mhm.
depend on, but instead is making the problem worse.
Mhm. So, Kayla, in my speech, delegation speech to oppose the municipal land transfer tax in Hamilton on January 5th, 2025, there was my last point. I said, this city, right, we don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem.
Yeah.
Right, and we need better fiscal management for resolving our annual deficits. Our mayor Andrew Howard didn't like that line, but it is absolutely true. And I think to really solve the problem, you have to stop the drugs flowing and coming into Canada. Right after I read a book called The Willful Blindness from Sam Cooper that exposed the Vancouver model, where the fentanyl and opioids are coming from China to Vancouver, to Vancouver, and then through all the whatever underground networks throughout North America.
Yeah.
It's not surprising why we have these issues today. And homelessness in Hamilton a few years ago was 1,500, now is 2,000. Right,
Yeah.
in San Francisco is more than 7,000. Right, and these are chronic homelessness, meaning you give them a mansion to live in, they still want to live outside. Well, not now, it's minus 24 degrees, but it's chronic homelessness. And the city is well, in Hamilton is trying to ask provincial government, oh, we need more funding. This does not fall in our municipal, shouldn't be under our municipal budget. And then and then when they are spending hundreds of millions, I think it was north of 180 million in homelessness to clean this up. And of course such spendings with cost overruns for those 40 carbons
Mm.
in Bot and Tiffany that came from China. That is another topic as well. And another issue where they just try to dust it under the carpet. They're not fully being transparent with all the residents and the Hamiltonians here. But I think to really solve the problem, you have to stop the drugs from coming. And every day I read in the newspaper someone is either getting shot, another jewelry store closing down because they got robbed. And it's all starting to become very unsafe,
Well,
in the city.
it's almost like those safe injection sites that they came out with. Now they're doing like more safe hubs, and it's like we were obviously dead set against, like, this is something stupid. Like, don't put money into a facility for people to use drugs safely. And what are you going to do? Take away their drug if you know that there's something wrong with it? So you really don't want to be having this. And they were trying to put one right next to my triplex, and the woman that I had there, was her son was a recovering drug addict. So
Mhm,
now you're creating a facility where people who are struggling to get off drugs are going
mhm,
to know where to find drugs, because a drug dealer would totally set up shop there.
mhm,
And instead they had waiting lists for for rehab over 9 months to get into rehab. So a lot of it has to go through the sports, and I think BC's on that, where it's like mandatory. They're trying to, like, if someone's like in a family member, they're going to make it mandatory that you seek rehab, in which they need to have more rehab facilities and a way to kind of force people into the treatment in order to do it, because those people are a problem in our area too, because we're not social workers. Landlords are not social workers, and they struggle to be that. But there is programs that try to work with the private landlords to get people who are, struggling with mental health and addiction, and that's their program where they're funding it and making it look like it's the best thing since sliced bread and butter. And in reality, it's not. It's just you're losing a rental property, and you're not giving the person the service that they need, because initially it was supposed to be giving them the treatment and the help that they needed before housing, and now they changed it to giving them housing first.
Yep. So all these programs, as you mentioned, the safe injection, these centers, I believe it was over 20 something, safe injection centers that they had planned to open, and then more recently now they're trying to close it down if it is within close proximity to schools.
Another bad idea.
Bad idea. So then it's as though they implement all these programs, and then we have all these unintended consequences. So it costs money to implement, and then it costs money to to resolve the more problems that were created in the first place. So it's sort of, I think, very clear that decisions have to be smarter, and we need smarter people in government. I don't know how it is not common sense. It's like I said, common sense is very uncommon these days.
You know why? Like, if you look at how much a counselor gets, it's very minimum for someone who has a family, who has that mindset, the common sense mindset, to actually go and become a counselor. So they don't really go. So it's really people subsidizing their income, I think, in order to be in that position. And we're not getting quality. We're just getting people who have time, who want to be counsel, and they're not doing the right job for it. And we have to, and this is why staff is very influential when it comes down to government, and we have to balance one bad policy, just like landlord licensing, making the supply down even further. Now, what are we paying as taxpayers to clean up these tent encampments? Because one of our tent encampments had taken about $40,000 to clean up. So they could be very extensive. And it's not only that we have to worry about with homelessness. It's our hospitals, it's our ambulance, it's our police, it's everything. So they continue to keep putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. That's what they can, because that's all they know. And so we have to be the people to keep yelling. And I know it sucks that we only get 5 minutes at council to actually give you the education that we know. And I think every city, whoever is listening to this, is that to have a roundtable discussion with people in their communities to understand that there is a better way. We just need to be able to tell you what that better way is in a less complicated manner, so to speak.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, KAYLA. You at least still have to create a narrative for the people of Hamilton or people of Cambridge to really see the light and what is really going on. Because if government or municipal government cannot be transparent, at least they can watch Ontario Landlords Watch to get the real news and see what's really happening in these cities. And I delegated 3 times at city council on adequate temperature bylaw, vacant unit tax, municipal land transfer tax when I opposed that beginning this year, and more recently the rental licensing on December 2nd. And it is really interesting to see how this current city council behaves and how they really make decisions. And what I've learned is that the decisions is already made before it goes to council.
Yes. I'm glad you said that. That's what exactly happens.
Yep. and it is it's like horse trading, where let's say certain councillors on the left, not to name the names, will say, well, if
Not
I
yet.
vote this for, support you on this, whatever your agenda is, then you have to support me in this, and it is irrespective of what is the right thing to do. I think if we have councillors, the ones who are not making the right decisions, and it is very, very, I think that the public, they are not stupid. They can see, how certain councillors are behaving, and it just does not make sense the way how they are spending taxpayers
Our money,
dollars. Yep,
our
our money,
money. And
and
it's causing
we.
the problem to be worse when we have to spend more money because of how they're spending the
Mhm.
current money.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much. If we continue going down this direction, we have 8,500 employees in a staff or staff in Hamilton. More recently, this past week, there was an article where dozens of positions, I believe, in senior positions, city staff, where they left. They left their jobs, and because they were not getting along, I presume had conflict with this current city council. The ones on the left that are very ideological. So when you have these things that are sometimes they get out in the news, the mayor of Hamilton tries her best to sort of,
Sugarcoat it.
yes, and not to let it get out, to protect the image as though they are doing a good job, etc.
Mhm.
But it is already evident, the mayor has negative approval ratings. Now I can get in trouble for saying this. I love Hamilton, but to see it going down, in the past 8 years, we
Yeah.
one counselor, and I can not to, maybe I can quote her because she's a wonderful person. Okay, Counselor Esther Paul basically said, if it's not, where's the economics? If
Yeah.
we are supposed to be a growing city, why are we doing all the things that is the opposite
Yeah. And
to?
and it's funny, like we were watching Hamilton for as an investment opportunity, and I looked at the property and I was like, Hamilton used to be like really down, like it was not doing good. And then it peaked and it did so great and everyone loved it. And now it's going down again, almost like similar to London, right? London is something where I said to my head, I'm like, we are not touching London. We're not going to be touching Brampton. We're not going to be touching Hamilton. We ain't touching cities where there's landlord licensing in place or a vacancy tax or there's a rent eviction bylaw. You have to be vocal about this and include that in all your social media. Send that to your elected officials, no matter which level you are. Encourage the province to step in to the municipal's jurisdiction and be like, hey, what are you guys doing? Like, we're trying to make things better and you're here trying to
Mhm.
make it absolutely worse.
Were there
Now,
were there questions, Kayla, that came in? I saw a comment on the screen earlier.
oh, we actually have our Kingston Landlords Association
Okay.
being very vocal here, so it's just great. I got to have them on for a show. We just got asking city staff about adding more staff for new services, including licensing, is not a smart thing at all, especially if the individuals are not effective in their position, get to be managers. Yeah. Oh, it's always about adding more people. Even for like landlord licensing here in the city of Cambridge, like they wanted to have to hire 6 more additional people just to make tenants responsible for their own water bill. And it's like, whoa, like where do you get 6 people
Mhm,
full time? You can't even give part time. And then they come
mhm,
with all the dues and all the protection and all the benefits. This is
mhm,
where like, and again, when you work with getting government to build and maintain and supply housing versus getting a
mhm,
private, the
mhm,
contractors are going to be giving a higher price tag to getting it done if it's for a government contract than it is for a private sector
mhm,
contract. So everything's just a lot cheaper into us getting ourselves working with the private investors. But
mhm,
until we change the way that media until they change these elected officials at the municipal level, I think the provincial people are getting it right now with the conservatives. But we need to kind of be able to know 2026 election is coming due. I know I'm going to create a list of individuals that I want to see carrying the torch to the next council. And I think it's important all of us all of us do this, not just on this topic, other topics as well. So when I do make my decision, it's not just to base how they're feeling, because there's some counselors that wishy-washy with the water billing, but I did see them being vocal and there for their community, and I'll make my voice heard there. But we need to, Daniel, get more people involved. And I know that we're going to have something in the new year. I'm going to be bringing a couple of the landlords associations together, because I think we need to be strong on our mission, on our statements and our goals, and to show that we do have a little bit of power and just our votes, and donating to people's campaigns. Like, but we do need to make sure that the message is very strict, to that we're not here to make people homeless. We're not here to take supply away from people who want to own their own home, but we are needing to understand that we are a branch of dealing with the housing crisis, because I'm tired of seeing bad policy after bad policy impacting me as a taxpayer. And now I have to pay more in taxes to cover all the symptoms of a bad decision. Right. And I think you can agree with me on that. And you've seen it with them as well. And we see what happens with staff. And on the side note for your staff, I'm hearing staff doesn't even usually live in the city that they're in.
Yes, and staff also always bumps heads with council and the mayor, and when they direct staff to go do their research and come back with a report. But interestingly, that uh, director of rental licensing, Dan Smith, I believe, of Hamilton, I think he got that job, because he's been doing this kind of law enforcement licensing for more than 10 years. So I think he was groomed to be in that position. So when he written that report, that was, and some of the councillors on December 2nd never even read the report. How are they supposed to make a smart decision if they haven't even seen the report? That was to be discussed.
You have Ted McMeekin on your council. Like, he used to be the Minister of Housing.
Correct. So
and he still voted as a member of the committee. He voted for this, knowing, and he sounded like he was obviously aware of, like, that this is a duplication of service. That's what the feeling I got. So I was really shocked to see his vote with that.
Oh no, I can tell you the whole dynamics, KAYLA, on Ted. Ted might be known to be sleeping Ted when he sleeps in certain council meetings, but he ain't sleeping. He's texting his other fellow councillors there on the left. They all working and
guys, we're not talking
communicating.
like tinfoil hats here, guys. Like, we're telling you from experience, getting to know some of these counselors. And you know what? To be honest, I'd rather have a tinfoil hat than a blindfold, right? And I think that's what we all need to be waking up to.
I always believe, KAYLA, you have to do what's right for the people. Now, there are going to be some who, like the ones on assistance, and the ones who, let's just say, that Doug Ford says, go get a job, buddy, right? And at Ottawa, all right? And right? And but only Doug Ford can say that, because if I say that, then I'm going to get in a lot of trouble. But he said, those ones, I mean, he is right, because a past mayor of Hamilton, that this was last year when I had a meeting, what he said is 6,000 people in Hamilton living off poverty. He said the only way to solve these kind of problems that are happening in Hamilton, you have to get the narrative out in the media. So when the people of Hamilton see what is really happening, then it will come back to the politicians, and people, will make their decision when it comes to the next municipal election. Do they want the same councillor in their ward to have another consecutive term? And if so I think people then I think most people have common sense. If we are spending and wasting a lot of resources in places that we shouldn't have been spending, in the first place. I think people have common sense, Kayla. And Hamilton, I mean, look at it. We have on November 20 something, we had Paul McCarthy came and performed in the TD Coliseum. They spent 300 million to renovate that Coliseum, right? And we had the opening. Paul McCarthy, he did his performance, but opposite the road, the Salvation Army, they installed a fence with black top to cover the homeless people sleeping, on the side of the street, so
That's
and it was very sort of suspicious. Oh wow, just before Paul McCarthy comes to Hamilton, we have a fence installed with the black top covering, people sleeping right in front of the Salvation Army there, right? It's a bit, it doesn't look good on the city, and we really need better, again, leaders at council, because
it's better leaders that are not depending on policy advisors or people who are staff in the city, that it's their day-to-day 9 to 5, nothing's on the line for them. They're not doing the proper research. That's what I think is really happening.
well, from what I've heard, and I can get in trouble saying this, but those who are, in their positions at city council, especially the ones on the left, they hate their job. Well, I wouldn't say hate their job, but
Oh, there.
they it's one councillor said it's not like how it was before, when you can agree to disagree and be civil and walk out of these council meetings every week and be civil about it. Now it is it is very much like animosity, very toxic, where you are, very cutthroat to
Code of
your other.
conduct. We're gonna do a code of
Yeah.
conduct on you because you said this, you said that.
Yeah.
Like, there's no healthy debate, and I think good things come from a healthy debate.
Oh, I've seen it. I've seen it, Kayla, and and then the mayor has to sort of calm everyone down like their children and say, "Behave, behave, out of order, calling out of order," and it's ridiculous, the way how this city council is now. Don't get me wrong, there are some good politicians, some good councillors, and they know what's right for the city, and they really try to, do the right thing, but again, it's a very tough job, and they don't get paid much. Councillors only get paid 100,000 a year. The mayor apparently is the highest paid,
They're getting 100,000
person,
in Hamilton?
for councillors, and the mayor gets, I think, north of 280. She gets paid more than Doug Ford, 280,000. Right, she gets 50, in addition to her whatever
Yeah,
paycheck
I'm looking into the
as
salaries
a
now, guys.
mayor. She gets additional 50,000 for sitting on electric utilities board of directors. So now I can get in trouble for saying this if the mayor of Hamilton watches this, but I think all of this is public news anyways.
Yeah.
But we need to, again, for Hamilton to be better, for Hamilton to grow, we should not do all the things that are the opposite. We have to do the right thing, Kayla.
Yeah.
And
No,
I
I
think,
can't thank you enough. Like, what you're doing, you can tell you're passionate about this. I love that you're calling it out like it is, because that's what is needed to happen for people who are in that position and not afraid to speak up. And you do it in a respectful way. So don't ever be sorry and saying that you're going to get in trouble, because you got freedom of expression into
well,
this country.
well, politicians are getting attacked. You know what one councillor said when I delegated to oppose the municipal land transfer tax, and that day the councillors and the mayor was not supposed to debate the delegate, but they debated me. So even to
Oh,
this day, some of the good councillors says, Daniel, that was a great speech and you did a great job, and they remembered it up to this day, right? But what
that's
one of the
awesome.
councillors told me, what I should have said to the mayor is, Madam Mayor, I am not a politician, right? Because how am I supposed to know all these things, and etc., etc., as politicians should, right?
Yeah.
Because they read the reports every day, but I only know the commonsensical things which is the decisions we are making is not good. They are bad decisions for the city, and it's not what the city needs. We don't need more regulation. We don't need more bad policies that is draining affordable housing supply, and doing and having all these negative unintended consequences. It's not doing the city any good, and it is harming the lives of real people,
Mhm.
distressed seniors that even up to this present day haven't even received their notices in the mail with the vacant unit tax, right? We
It's a it's
have.
a it's a tax grab and it's an abuse. Right,
Yep.
that's just what it and it's the transparencies that they can get because 'cause they're desperate and they're desperate for money, and a lot of these cities are
Oh,
going belly up
oh, you're absolutely right. They can't get the money by having good fiscal management over their,
and less spending.
and less spending, right? We don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem here in Hamilton. But what they're trying to do is indirectly or directly trying to get the money from, again, these private business people, landlords, developers, etc.
Yeah,
And it's not an effective way of
management.
because, yeah, because in turn it will have more unintended consequences, right?
Yeah,
I see in the news every week, every month, another business is closing down,
yeah,
right? The revenues have dropped, expenses are up, and some are not even breaking even or making profit, and they can
mm,
only go on like that for a couple years until they call it you know closed. They close, and
yep.
there's many closures, and a city cannot function like this. If it continues on like this, I may not even live in Hamilton anymore, Kayla. I might have to go Dubai and live where there's no
I
taxes.
well, I think we're coming with you. I think we're all coming with you. It seems like we just got to get to know about other cities and other countries to invest in and to move to. It seems like if we don't step up now. And now, Daniel, I'm going to show a video that happened the couple of days ago. But before I do, I find it more important than ever to support our landlords associations at a municipal level. I think we just have to work together on different fronts, multiple different landlords associations. You've seen we have Kingston here, and we want to be able to find you. How can someone sign up to be a member? Like, give us a detail of like the membership so people can kind of support the work that you're doing in Hamilton and, of course, the provincial level as well.
I think it is Hamilton Apartment Association.ca. If you Google Hamilton at District Apartment Association, you will see how you
Let's
can
see if
get
I can go.
information. Yep, on that website, on how to join as a member. And you mentioned, yes, Kingston Rental Housing Providers of Ontario. I know Robert Merlo. He has reached out to our association many times and have shared what they are doing as well with regards to either licensing or other bylaws that have came into effect or will be coming into effect in their city. And we all collaborate and share knowledge on what is happening.
You know, we
And
should do it for the new year. We'll have like a big panel.
yep, yep. I think. Oh yeah, we could absolutely, Kayla. I think. I don't do too many podcasts, but I did get approval to do your podcast, and I heard many good things in what you're doing. And our past president have worked with you over the years and said very positive things. That yes, Kayla is a very good person to work with. So I don't do
He's
too many
not crazy.
podcasts, but yes, and I've met you in our last month HDA dinner meeting, and I think what you're doing is great, Kayla. I think everyone should tune into your Ontario Landlords Watch and absorb all of your content, because we need more Kaylas in the world, as you mentioned, to get the message out. Because at the end of the day, we are not a communist society. It is democracy, right? The people have to be heard. There's so many
Yeah.
people that are silenced or not being heard, and and we can't have certain municipal governments or with this kind of behavior to continue on, because cities cannot grow when they have bad policies in place.
And bad politicians.
Well, I can get in trouble for saying that, but
Yeah,
yep.
I got you,
So
Daniel. No problem. I got that for you.
some are good, but some are just being politicians are politicians, and but more importantly, we need better policies, not the the politicians. Yeah.
I'll let you slide on that one. I know normally we have I'm usually at an hour for this, but when I have Daniel here, I can't thank you enough for being on here. And this is why it's perfect timing, because this came across my TikTok feed. I want to show all of you who are watching. I want Daniel because he was at this event. So I want to be able to kind of show this video, get you guys thinking, and just know it's great to speak up for your voice and what you believe in, but you have to do this in a respectful way. And this is where some of these politicians are vouching for these type of tenants to that behave this way, even down to this lady who keeps calling me. So if you guys are trying to get a hold of me, you need to text me first, because this is the type of behavior that landlords are dealing with. So without further ado, please listen in and watch.
So we are tenants. We have been fucked over by Bill 60.
I love the 80s theme. I'm just
Hold on. We're having technical difficulties. Hold on. I had a picture ready to go. Okay, now we can do this.
We are tenants. We have been fucked over by Bill 60.
I love the 80s theme. I'm just wondering, have you ever evicted a tenant in their 80s? How do
You
you sleep
kick
at night
people
when your
out.
business model rests on evicting people?
Here, what you're doing
So
here.
fun. Cheers to evictions. We're not going to leave.
We're not going anywhere.
We're not going anywhere.
All right, that's fine. Wait here and we'll get the police.
Wonderful. How do you justify giving out awards tonight like Best Community Service when the majority of your tenants are lining up at food banks?
Right here for the.
Do you want to comment on that? Do you see tenants as human beings or revenue streams? Just curious.
Did you know that the profits that fund this out of a gala is made by kicking people out,
You
by
can
evicting
talk-
people?
Do you see tenants as human
touch me, friend.
beings
Don't
or
touch
just
me, friend.
revenue
Friend,
streams?
Don't touch me.
Don't call me friend because you're not my friend.
Don't
all
touch me.
Don't call me friend.
Well, we know you're nobody's friend because your business is evicting people out onto the streets.
All right, have a nice day. Have a nice day.
Well, it's not a nice day.
It's beautiful day.
No, it is not. Do you know how much tonight's event cost? $372,000.
Meanwhile, tenants are lining up at the food bank.
Just wondering who was nominated tonight for Best Supporting a Victor. These are human beings, not revenue streams. Giving out awards like Best Community Service when the majority of your tenants are lining up at food banks. Shame! From the outside, this looks like a party for people profiting off the housing crisis. Would anybody here like to speak to that?
I mean, you don't even
Anybody?
going up the stairs.
Are we just partying like it's the 80s? I mean, rent was cheaper then, so is that what you're going for? Landlord, get a real job! Landlord, get a real job!
Greed's good. You know what that greed does? It means more people being evicted. It means FRB lobbying for all of those goodies from just landlords and Bill 60.
This is legitly FROPA's been alive and well for many. This is all because of Bill 60, and they want to I never seen tenant unions like that go to their elected officials because they need to direct their energy somewhere. This is not the landlords who are gathered there as service providers, but they want people to think it's these greedy landlords that are causing a housing crisis. Meanwhile, they don't understand the whole tax base. They don't understand the misspending of municipal government and how that is causing all the rates to increase from people struggling to put food on the table. But you don't think that we have housing owners that are struggling to put food on the table as well? But this is that narrative that the NDP, in my opinion, are playing with the housing crisis and the food crisis that they're now showing. But no one wants to talk about the abuse within those two factors, right? With even the food bank, yes, you're going to see a lot of people going to the food bank, but how many people are going to the food bank and they don't really need to, because they can pick up items that are normally $7 like peanut butter, and they can get it for free at the food bank. Or if we have people in government housing and they are working under the table, or they have a spouse that's working, but they're hiding that they need that rental unit, taking away a rental unit from someone who actually needs it. I'm very like, when do you hold these people accountable for what we just seen there? Like, that's just uncalled for.
Well, it is real, Kayla, and the first thing that came to my mind is, yes, the gap between the have and the have nots is growing bigger, and the wealth gap. And in times of like in these uncertain and challenging times, you see these kind of things happening where and there's many videos on YouTube or documentaries about it, where the ones that are less fortunate, uh, again speaking out, like what you've seen in that video, it is real. But as mentioned, from that article, the past 10 years productivity in Canada has been very stagnant. We can't have too much people that not working. Now again, probably AI in the future might solve it, where work is optional, as Elon Musk said, and people might have their robots or humanoid robots working for them and bringing the income home. But I think it starts with education. With education, if they really and YouTube, if you have Wi-Fi or internet, you can watch YouTube and really try to understand the root causes of these problems in society, right? And the unintended consequences of such bad policies by governments, and and what is really causing all the problems today. So I think it really is education. Now, some who
You got some that won't pay, but you got people that can't pay, right? So it's
Yeah.
really about the people that won't pay.
Yeah.
And this group, what we just watched, they want to bring back full rent control, because that is the mission of the NDP. And it's a little concerning to see that we have the NDP in Toronto and the
Right.
NDP in Hamilton. Like, how far off are we from this happening? And what does that do to our industry? Just
Yeah.
because these people have time to
Mhm.
advocate like this. And this is where, like, Doug Ford is like, go get a job. It's like, there's so many people out there that can get a job, but they choose not to get a job. They
Yep.
like, I have a mechanic, he has one arm and he is out there and he is working. So a lot of it comes down to people just finding this another loophole within a system, and they're taking advantage of it. But I don't know.
No, you're absolutely right, Kale. I can tell you numerous examples in Hamilton, 6,000 people living off poverty, and they say they have some, get the pass as having disability, but they're perfectly normal teenagers. And then this was probably over a decade ago when I was screening tenants. They were like teenagers, like maybe 18, 19.
Yeah.
They look perfectly normal. They buy their shoes, they buy their whatever handbags, and they looking for an apartment. And then they mention their income being assistance, welfare, but they look perfectly normal. They don't have any disability. And then I ask, because I'm always curious, I ask, how does it work? The system. And they say, oh, my friend just told me, fills out this application, and then you get income from the government. So it's the mentality. And then you have people who are on welfare, and then there's child benefits. I remember there was a couple with 2 or 3 children, and they were banking in about 4-5 grand a month, making more than an actual accountant who graduated from school, working an accounting job, starting off at 40-50 grand, and have to work their way up, in society to like 100 grand salary, which is not much these days. But for some it is a lot, much better than the average, whatever, 65,000 you need to live in, to actually afford to rent an apartment. But it is the mentality. And I just don't understand. If we have, a lot of these things happening, the productivity in this entire country will not be higher. So there's a great book called, I think it was Death Cycles, from Ray Dalio, that spoke about these things, where he studied the past 500 years on how societies rise and fall, and or countries, and speak about the wealth gap and the income equality, and all of these things. But historically, rent control it never works throughout the entire world. They
Well, that's
tried
what
it
we're
in the 70s,
yeah.
80s, 90s, and then what happened? They stopped building apartment buildings. It's only when Doug Ford, with the November 2018 no cap to rent increases for buildings,
Yep.
2018 or newer, then they started doing new purpose built, which was a good thing to contribute to the housing supply. But rent control has never. So it is it on a for for Acorn and these advocacy groups to say we have to eliminate rent control, and and all these things that will make things more problematic. I don't understand. I think it is more a mindset thing, more so. I think most people have common sense. Just learn from history, right?
But
I,
the problem is, so we see Bill 60 coming in, and now we have these same organizations and the same people following that movement. They're going to municipalities trying to get them to introduce a rent eviction bylaw. So they're thinking, oh, the landlord and tenant board is going to do it quicker. Let's work our municipal government, get them on our sides. It's literally just government not being able to talk to each other, from the municipal, the regions, to the province, to the federal government. They need to be working together, but they also need to be talking to the stakeholders who are providing the housing, and what challenges we go through and what they can do as a government. Daniel, I know this is probably the longest YouTube I've ever done, which is absolutely awesome. I think it's either going to go on a 4-hour when we get all the landlord associations together. I can't thank you enough for sharing your personal experience with us and your opinions to what's happening between landlord licensing. We got into vacancy tax. We got into the rent eviction bylaw, down to rent control, and crazy tenants just trying to say, you have something that I want and I want it too, but I can't. So I'm just going to make sure that I make your life unenjoyable. You know what? There's lefts and there's rights in the world. I just hope that we can just work together to make sure that we let people see what's happening and who these people are, because it may look good on paper, but when you put it into action, it's not that great. And that's what we're trying to do, is to educate not only the landlords out there, the good tenants that are out there, and of course the taxpayers of Hamilton, letting them know. So on December 10th, I guess people can still be a delegate to the December 10th meeting regarding this topic.
Not a delegate, but the decision will be made or ratified on December 10th. But it will no delegates are allowed on December 10th.
See the
Yep.
weirdness of each city
Yep.
doing this. So if you
Yep.
want to watch in horror, guys, then we can definitely. I think they're going to have it online as well, so that you can watch to see what happens. So really pay close attention to which counselors are actually in favor of keeping this permanent, because we've got to see the committee work. We have to see what's going on, and really make it a telltale sign for the election that's going to be happening on October 26th. And don't fall for the smoke and mirrors, guys. You can't do it. Daniel, thank you so much. And thank you all for supporting. Please check out our sponsors in the video who are keeping me traveling and advocating. And we have more things on the way for January. I can't wait to share them all with you. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being a housing provider or a service provider, because you know what? Your job is really, really important for Ontario. And just hold on a little longer. We might see more Bill's 60s. It's just like a haircut for a kid right now. So stay strong and stay connected to each other, and definitely join us onto the Ontario Landlords Watch webinar and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks so much. Bye, Daniel.
All right. Thank you, Kayla. I enjoyed this interview. I will definitely be sure to put it
We're
out.
gonna do it again.
That's the least we can do. Thank you, Kayla.
Stay on the call as soon as we hit the live. 1 second.